I've been hearing a lot of buzz about the Polk Audio Reserve R500 tower paired with the R300 center speaker lately, and all the chatter made me wonder if they're really worth the hype for a home theater upgrade. I've had a few weeks to set them up in my own listening room, and the results convinced me that a lot of people need to hear the details before they decide. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What really drew me in was the promise of high-resolution audio certification combined with Dolby support, which means these speakers can actually reproduce the fine nuances that streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime hide behind generic soundtracks. I started by putting the R500 tower on either side of my couch, and the first thing I noticed was how tightly the bass stayed anchored to the floor without ever getting boomy. Even during a nighttime movie marathon, the low end stayed clean, so I could hear the dialogue without turning the volume up just to cut through the rumble. The R300 center channel is where the practical benefits start to shine for everyday use. Because it's more compact than a traditional center speaker, it fits nicely under a TV that's only a few inches tall, which is perfect for a sleek living room setup. In my case, the center handled all the movie dialogue and on-screen voiceovers with a clarity that made me feel like I was sitting in the middle of the action. When I switched to a video conference call, the speaker reproduced my colleague's voice without any echo, making the whole remote work experience smoother. Another big win is the way the dual 5.25-inch woofers in the R500 blend with the 1-inch tweeter. The tweeter does a great job of delivering crisp highs, think of the sparkle on a violin or the subtle hiss of rain, while the woofers keep the mids and lows balanced. I tested this with a classic rock playlist and the guitars were punchy, but the vocals never got buried. It's the kind of sound you want for a Saturday morning gaming session. The bass is there enough to feel the explosions in a shooter, yet the directional cues stay precise so you can tell exactly where the action is happening. One of the practical things I love is the flexibility of placement. The R500's footprint is relatively small for a floor-standing model, so you can tuck it next to a bookshelf or even angle it slightly toward a corner without losing performance. That helped me fit the speakers into a modest apartment living space where I couldn't afford to sacrifice floor space. The R300's mounting options let you either place it on a low stand or mount it to the wall, which is handy if your TV sits on a high cabinet. The versatility means you don't need to do major remodeling to get a solid surround sound setup. From an everyday standpoint, these speakers also do a great job with music streaming services that support high-resolution tracks. When I streamed a jazz album in lossless mode, the subtle brush work on the drums and the warm tone of the upright bass came through with a realism that makes listening feel more like a live session. For families, the clear dialogue makes it easier for kids to follow storylines in animated movies without subtitles, and the balanced sound reduces the need to crank the volume, which is kinder to everyone's ears. If you're someone who enjoys watching sports at home, the R500's wide soundstage gives you a sense of space that mimics being in a stadium. The crowd roar feels immersive, but the commentary stays front center thanks to the R300's precise vocal reproduction. And because the speakers are built with high-quality materials, they have a solid, grounded feel that reduces vibrations that can sometimes shake pictures on a TV. Now, no product is perfect, so here's the short pros and cons rundown I've put together after a few weeks of use. The sound quality is the standout, both the detail in highs and the controlled depth and lows are impressive for a pair at this price point. The compact design of the R300 makes it fit into tight spaces without looking out of place, and the overall build feels sturdy enough to handle a bit of rough handling. On the downside, the bass, while tight, isn't as thunderous as you'd get from a larger floor-standing model, so if you're after a truly cinematic boom you might still want a subwoofer. Also, the wiring connections are standard speaker grade, which means you'll need a decent AVR or amp to unlock their full potential. A basic stereo receiver won't give you the same immersive experience. All in all, the Polk Reserve R500 and R300 bundle gives you a very solid home theater foundation without taking over the room, and it handles movies, music, gaming, and even conference calls with a clarity that makes everyday listening more enjoyable. If you're thinking about upgrading and want something that balances performance with practicality, this set is worth a look. Thanks for hanging out. If you're interested, the link is in the description below.